when Taylor Swift responded to rumors that she would retire from music after marrying Travis Kelce by calling them shockingly offensive. This was not merely a celebrity denial, it was a boundary-setting act. It was a declaration that her artistry cannot be trivialized by assumptions about marriage, gender, or expectation. It was her refusing to be cast into the mold others insist she wear. This moment matters for multiple reasons. It highlights the intersection of gendered expectations, the pressure on female artists to choose, and the importance of speaking truth to narrative. Let's unpack why that phrase and her refusal are deeply significant. The rumor and its roots. First, it helps to understand the rumor she confronted. After the release of her 12th studio album, The Life of a Showgirl, speculation swirled among fans and media that this might be her last album before she steps away to marry and perhaps shift focus to family life. The rumor wasn't new in celebrity culture, but in Taylor's case it touched a nerve. The rationale behind it: many people hold an implicit assumption, especially toward female public figures, that marriage and motherhood necessitate retreat from ambition. Couples settle down. Women become home creators. Slow down. These assumptions are rooted in traditions about role, sacrifice, and identity. For many, a woman continuing a high-profile career after marriage disrupts long-entrenched gender scripts. So, the rumor wasn't simply about Taylor Swift. It was about what many still believe should be her role once she marries. It carried undertones of control, of domestic expectation, of audience entitlement over a woman's future. When host Scott Mills broached the question on BBC Radio 2, "Don't tell me this is your last album," he voiced what many had whispered, and Taylor's response, loud and clear, turned the script around. "What? No? That's a shockingly offensive thing to say." Words that draw a line in that one sentence. She did several things at once, refused the narrative. She rejected the idea that her marriage will or should mark an end to her creative life. Named the offense. She didn't call it wrong or untrue. She called it shockingly offensive, indicating she saw not just rumor, but insult to her identity, her passion, and her commitment. Reclaimed agency. By using such a strong descriptor, she took control of the conversation. She forced listeners to reconsider the assumptions behind the question itself. Reaffirmed identity. Implicitly, she said, "I am not defined by marital status. Being married does not mean quitting." She reaffirmed that her identity is intertwined with her music and that her ambitions are not negotiable. Language matters. When a female artist of her stature uses a word like offensive in this context, she amplifies more than a simple denial. She communicates that her art, her life, her agency are not up for speculation by others. Gendered double standards in celebrity narrative. Why did this rumor feel so loaded? Because it wasn't pulled out of thin air. It's rooted in long-standing double standards. Male artists rarely endure rumors that marriage will end their creative careers. When they marry or have children, it's seen as part of their personal journey, not a career forfeiture. Women, conversely, are often reminded of what's next: marriage, motherhood, domesticity, and judged on whether they gracefully step back. The narrative expects trade-offs: creativity vs family, ambition vs role. Female icons who resist that narrative, who continue producing, performing, creating after marriage, are sometimes framed as exceptions, or even criticized for ignoring priorities. A Taylor confronting the rumor head-on is a corrective to that pattern. She is not asking for permission to continue. She is declaring that she will continue. She is refusing the ceiling that others try to place on her. In saying the rumor was shockingly offensive, she shifts from responding to speculation to critiquing the assumptions that underlie it. The marriage-career parallel she frames in her interview. She drew a parallel between her career and Travis Kelce's, pointing out how their professions mirror each other. Both perform in stadiums, have rehearsals or training, and lead teams. This is significant because she dismantles the idea that marriage means a woman must stop. Their dynamic suggests partnership, rather than one person sides down. She normalizes the idea of two high-achieving individuals loving each other, supporting each other's creative or professional calling, rather than one sacrificing for the other. She underscores that artistic identity is not disposable. If her work brings her fulfillment, it is not something to be abandoned for change in personal status. By reframing marriage not as an endpoint but as another dimension of life, she refutes the idea that her career must give way. The weight of expectation from fans and media. To fully appreciate her response, consider the context of how fans and media often react to female artists' life changes. Fans sometimes treat a marriage or motherhood announcement as the point of farewell. They parse lyrics, album titles, emotional performances as clues. This kind of speculation can feel like a silent pressure toward retirement. Media narratives often frame actresses or musicians entering major personal life changes as being at a crossroads or facing trade-offs. Female artists often feel compelled to reassure or deny rumors, to signal continuously that they remain committed, productive, evolving. The emotional labor of managing speculation becomes ongoing. In that light, her blunt refusal reads as boundary setting. She refuses to be boxed into fan theories, gossip cycles, or gendered expectations. Her ownership of the narrative becomes an act of self-preservation and assertiveness in a landscape that often expects women to be architects of their public image, even under scrutiny. The philosophical undercurrent autonomy, identity, and the art of refusal beyond celebrity politics. There is a philosophical dimension here. This moment is about autonomy, the capacity to define one's path. Taylor's career has always had threads of storytelling, reinvention, and boundary pushing. This moment fits that arc. She tells the world she will not be coerced by expectation. She is not ending a chapter, she is asserting continuity. Refusal is powerful in a society that expects women, especially public women, to adapt, apologize, or downplay themselves. Refusing to accept false narratives becomes an act of resistance. Her use of the word offensive is refusal made visible. Her identity as artist, creator, human being must be honored beyond gender roles and romantic narratives. What this says to others, this response doesn't just protect her legacy, it sets a precedent. For other women, older or younger, it says, don't accept rumors rooted in bias. Push back on narratives that assume your choices must shift after a relationship. You don't owe the world an explanation for your ambition or continuity. Marriage or relationship does not diminish your creative identity. By making her refusal public and firm, she models how an individual can confront reductive speculation with dignity and clarity. The reactions when Taylor Swift pushed back against retirement rumors with the phrase, shockingly offensive. It didn't remain confined to a BBC Radio 2 interview. It spread like wildfire. Clips circulated, headlines were written, and fans debated the meaning behind her words. The reaction to her denial reveals how deeply society invests in her career, how much gender politics still frame expectations, and how fans view their relationship with one of the most influential artists alive. This is the second point. The public's reaction matters because it turns a denial into a cultural event. Media amplification within hours of the interview. Mainstream outlets had latched onto the phrase. Headlines read, Taylor Swift calls retirement theories shockingly offensive. Taylor Swift responds to the offensive theory that she'll quit music after marrying Travis Kelce. Taylor Swift reacts to rumor she'll stop making music after she gets married. The wording of those headlines shows the media's fascination. They didn't just report her denial, they highlighted her emotional intensity. By emphasizing the phrase, shockingly offensive, they signaled that this was more than a casual clarification. It was a cultural statement. Fans rallied behind her on social media. Swifties reacted with speed and fury. The idea that anyone would expect her to retire because of marriage was met with mockery, outrage, and defense. Twitter threads praised her refusal. Imagine thinking Taylor Swift would ever stop writing songs. This woman bleeds music. Offensive is right. TikTok edits overlaid her words with clips of her sold-out stadiums and decades of work, captioned, "She's not done. She's just getting started." Reddit communities dissected her comment, noting how the wording reflected deeper frustration with gendered narratives. For fans, her denial wasn't just reassurance that new albums would come. It was validation of their loyalty. It affirmed their belief that she is committed not just to her art, but to them. Many fans framed it as a promise that she would continue creating and touring no matter what her personal life brought. A feminist reading cultural critics seized on the feminist dimensions of her response. Opinion pieces noted how rare it is for female artists to call out sexist assumptions so directly. By labeling the question itself offensive, Swift wasn't just rejecting the rumor. She was challenging the bias that created it. Writers pointed out that no one asked Bruce Springsteen or Paul McCartney if marriage would end their careers. No one wonders if Ed Sheeran will stop making music when he has another child. The fact that Taylor had to address the issue shows how deeply ingrained the double standard remains. Her refusal became a feminist moment, an assertion that women are not defined by domestic transitions and that their ambitions are not subordinate to romance. The celebrity gossip cycle. Of course, gossip media also spun her comments in multiple directions. Some tabloids framed her response as snappy, others as defensive, suggesting tension or insecurity. This is the paradox of celebrity culture. Even a denial becomes material for endless interpretation. But what made this case unusual was how united fans and serious outlets were in defending her. Rather than questioning her motives, the mainstream leaned toward support. The only negative tones came from corners of gossip culture, which thrive on stoking conflict. This shows the dual nature of reactions: on one hand, empowerment and admiration; on the other, the inevitable churn of tabloids searching for angles. The NFL connection: some reactions were tied to her relationship with Travis Kelce and her visibility at NFL games. Detractors suggested that her romance with a football player might distract her from music. Supporters countered by highlighting her comparison that her life and Kelce's are parallel, both demanding careers performed in arenas, both structured by discipline and team support. This became a talking point online. Fans praised her framing of their relationship as a partnership of equals, not a hierarchy. The reactions revealed how invested people are in her balance of personal and professional life, and how her ability to reframe the narrative resonates with broader debates about gender roles in relationships. Swifties as guardians of legacy. Another remarkable part of the reaction was how fans positioned themselves as protectors of her legacy. Posts circulated reminding people that Swift is one of the best-selling artists of all time, that she has reinvented herself across eras, that she continues to fill stadiums worldwide. The subtext was clear, suggesting that she might retire was not only offensive to her, but to everything she represents. Fans treated the rumor as an insult to history itself. Their loyalty became a kind of cultural defense mechanism, rejecting any narrative that would reduce her achievements to footnotes in a marriage story. Generational divide in reactions. The reactions also revealed a generational divide. Younger fans largely viewed the rumor as absurd, pointing out that their generation embraces multi-dimensional identities. You can be married, ambitious, creative, and unstoppable all at once. Older audiences, however, seemed more likely to ask whether marriage would slow her down. This tension reflects deeper cultural differences. For younger fans, Taylor's denial felt natural. For older critics, it felt defiant. And that gap itself illustrates why her words matter, because they force society to confront lingering assumptions. The ripple effect on other artists. Finally, the reactions to Swift's denial spilled into discussions of other women in music. Commentators compared her stance to Beyoncé, who continued touring after motherhood, to Adele, who balances music with family life, to Madonna, who never accepted cultural expiration dates. Her strong denial reaffirmed a lineage of women refusing to step aside, refusing to be defined by timelines others write for them. Fans began reframing her words as a rallying cry not only for Swift's career, but for women in all fields resisting pressure to slow down after marriage or children. The legacy. What her denial means for the future. When Taylor Swift rejected retirement rumors with the words, "shockingly offensive," she wasn't only addressing speculation about one album cycle or one relationship. She was speaking to her legacy, to her vision of longevity, and to what it means for women in music to define their futures on their own terms. To understand the weight of this moment, you have to step back and view it as part of the larger story she's been writing for nearly 2 decades. This is the third point. Her denial signals the shape of her legacy and sets a precedent for others. Taylor Swift and the concept of harass. No artist has embodied reinvention quite like Taylor Swift. From country roots to pop domination, indie, folk introspection to stadium anthems, she has crafted a career not as a single arc, but as a series of eras. Each era has its own style, sound, aesthetic, and narrative. This is key because eras imply continuity. An RR ends, but another begins. To speculate about her last album misunderstands the structure of her artistry. For Swift, the act of reinventing is not a phase. It is the essence. To suggest retirement is to misread reinvention as finality. Her denial, then, was more than personal. It was artistic. She reminded the world that eras are infinite. There is always another chapter, another reinvention, another transformation. The fight against cultural expiration dates. Historically, women in music have been given expiration dates. They're celebrated as ingenues, tolerated through their peak, and then quietly pushed aside when they age or shift priorities. Madonna, Janet Jackson, Cher, all fought against this cycle, and all faced skepticism for staying in the spotlight beyond what culture deemed appropriate. Taylor Swift knows this history. She has studied pop stardom, written about legacy, and framed herself consciously as part of a lineage of women who refuse to vanish. When she calls the idea of quitting shockingly offensive, she's not just defending herself. She's rejecting the expiration date culture has tried to impose on women artists for generations. She signals that she will not disappear at 35 or 40 or 50. She will continue to create, adapt, and define her timeline, and in doing so, she sets a precedent for the next wave of artists watching her path. The partnership narrative vs. the solo legacy. The retirement rumor gained traction because of her relationship with Travis Kelce. Many speculated that marriage would shift her priorities, but Swift's denial reframed the narrative. Marriage does not erase individual ambition. Love and career are not competitors. This is a crucial message for legacy. If she had said nothing, the rumor might have lingered, quietly altering the way future fans interpreted her choices. By rejecting it outright, she protected her artistic identity from being absorbed into someone else's story. Her career remains her own narrative. Marriage may be part of her life, but it will not redefine the trajectory of her music. This distinction ensures that when her legacy is written, it is not as Taylor Swift, who retired when she married, but Taylor Swift, who continued writing history no matter what her personal life looked like. Longevity as artistic power. Swift's refusal also points to something deeper: longevity as power. In music, lasting beyond one decade is rare. Reinventing across decades is even rarer. But Swift is already entering that space, and her denial proves she sees no reason to stop. Her legacy is not just about hits or awards, it's about endurance. By committing to continue, she places herself alongside the longest-lasting icons: Paul McCartney still touring at 80, Bruce Springsteen still filling stadiums, the Rolling Stones still performing after 60 years. Her statement positions her in that lineage. It says, "I will not fade. I will not conform to gendered limits. I will write my own story across as many decades as I choose." The economics of legacy. There is also a practical dimension. Swift is not only an artist, she is an empire. The Eras Tour has been one of the most profitable tours in history, injecting billions into local economies. Her re-recordings of past albums reshape the music industry's relationship to ownership and masters. Her fan base spans generations and has proven its loyalty across changing genres. From an economic perspective, retirement would be irrational. The infrastructure around her artistry, the tours, the records, the streaming dominance, the cultural footprint is designed for continuity. Her denial was not just emotional, it aligned with the practical trajectory of her empire. This ensures her legacy will not be framed as a star who stopped too soon, but a star who expanded until the end. A Swift as a model for younger artists. Perhaps the most important long-term implication is what her denial signals to younger women in music. For an industry still rife with pressure to slow down after personal milestones, Swift's stance serves as a model. She shows that you can be ambitious, married, in love, and still relentless. You can build an empire without apology. You can confront rumors not by sidestepping, but by calling them offensive. Younger artists watching her will learn that legacy is not about surrendering to expectations. It is about constructing a narrative on your own terms. Swift's refusal paves the way for more women to openly reject timelines dictated by others. The future of the Swift myth. Taylor Swift's career has always been as much about narrative as about music. Fans follow her like readers follow a long-running novel, with each album as a new chapter. Her denial of retirement rumors becomes another plot point in that ongoing mythos. In the future, when people write about her career, this moment will be cited as a turning point. It will be remembered as the time she set the record straight. She would not bow to cultural scripts. She would write her own. Her legacy will not just be the music, but the meta-narrative, the way she continually seized control of her story, refused erasure, and turned personal defiance into public empowerment. Toward a post-gender standard. Finally, her denial points toward a broader cultural hope, a world where women's careers are not constantly questioned in relation to marriage or family, where artistry is seen as autonomous, not conditional. If Taylor Swift can normalize the idea that marriage does not end ambition, that creative work continues, that women write their own timelines, then the culture itself shifts. She becomes not just an artist, but a precedent. Her legacy, then, is not only about music. It's about changing what society expects from women who lead, create, and endure. Taylor Swift's shockingly offensive denial of retirement rumors is not just about shutting down gossip. It is about legacy. It rejects expiration dates, reaffirms continuity, and sets a model for future artists. It reframes marriage as partnership, not erasure. It ensures that when her story is told, it will be about her resilience, her reinventions, and her refusal to let culture write her ending. By defending her future, she defended her legacy, and in doing so, she reminded us that the greatest artists do not fade when culture expects them to. They last, they evolve, they endure. Because Taylor Swift's eras are not over, they are endless.